Labour wins the 2020 Queensland election. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a talk about the Queensland election. Now Labour has won. Anastasia Palaszczuk is now going to have a longer term than Peter Beattie. She's going to be right up there with the other Labour legends of Queensland. And the most dramatic turn of events was the huge fall in One Nation voting. Really took a big hit. The Greens have kicked out Jackie Trad. The Katter Party has secured their position in northern Queensland. And LNP had a very lackluster result. Now, before we go through this article, let's talk about a few things. Jackie Trad getting kicked out by the Greens. One thing that was quite interesting watching the ABC coverage last night was the deputy leader of the Labour Party cast dispersions at the LNP for putting preferences towards the Greens in that seat, even though they did the same thing. I mean, this is just politics. This is how they play. And he really gives the vibe of a sleazy lawyer type. See, the first time I've actually watched him for an extended period on TV. Now, Jackie Trad, there was a lot of people that were not happy with her. And I just wonder how many Conservatives actually preference the Greens second. Because they're talking all about these how to vote cards and that type of thing. And sure, it makes a difference. But people still have to do it themselves. And I wonder how many Conservative voters put the Greens second just to get rid of Jackie. And I imagine Anastasia would be quite happy that she's gone, so her brand isn't associated with her. Because she's now going to be one of the longest sitting Labour premiers in Queensland. I think she's beating Beattie. Now, One Nation, they took a huge hit at some seats. They came in second, or third. They were sitting at 20% of the vote, and they've just got decimated. Now, I suspect that's because, during the last state election, one could argue that it was a reaction to Turnbull as the Prime Minister of Australia, and just the musical chairs that was happening at the federal level. I think that would have a reaction. People would respond to that, even at a state level, even if it's got nothing to do with it. You'd respond to it. I know it got me very angry, just the musical chairs they were playing with our PMs. So, perhaps that was why One Nation had such a good vote. I know in my own electorate, I couldn't see one sign or anything like that. I didn't have many choices to vote for. I think there was one Green sign, a few Labour and Liberal people sitting there. That was it. Normally, there was no queue either. There was absolutely no queue. I got there and we just voted. There was also no sausages, no hot dogs, nothing. A lot of people did pre-polling. A lot of people did postal votes. So that might swing a few of them. I think there are 4 seats in doubt now. It might swing those, but not enough to change the outcome of the election. One thing that Rachel is quite happy with is that the Labour government doesn't need to form a minority with the Greens, which is a good thing. Now, I'm not at all surprised at this outcome. I'm not at all. I'm a little disappointed we're not seeing more activity for people voting for minors and using preferences, just because I would like to see the Overton window shift more to a more central position, because it's just going so far to the left. But, that's how it is. But I'm not surprised when we met with a friend, and for the first time she'd really become politically active. She rang up the Premier's office to thank her for closing the borders and, standing up to the bullying and keeping them safe. And when I saw, a typical soccer mum in the suburbs take political action like that, I pretty much assumed that, from that one anecdotal experience, she wouldn't be alone. And that might be enough to swing the election. And looks like we're seeing it. So we've now got 4 more years of Labour government here in Queensland. And remember, when I looked at the website, I couldn't find any of their policies. So I guess, that doesn't really matter. Well, here's the question for you while I have a shot of coffee. Do you think policies and facts actually matter in politics these days? Do you think they ever did? So let's have a look at this article from the Courier Mail. Election results 2020. Jubilant Premier claims victory, gobsmacked, Freklington speech fail. Well, my understanding is that the victor needs to wait until the loser concedes. So it seems like a whole mess, this whole thing, because we didn't see Freklington's speech. And I wonder if she'll stay in the party or stay in leadership of the LNP, or if they'll bring someone else in. But who else has any public profile? You know? We were talking to our sister, we were watching the TV, and Rachel's going, do you know any of these people? Premier I've seen. So, we'll scroll up to the top here. A victorious Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, has thanked the people of Queensland as she's declared victory in the 2020 state elections, but experts have been left gobsmacked by opposition leader Deb Freklington's speech fail. Ms. Freklington made the extraordinary move to make her concession speech at the exact time Ms. Palaszczuk was making her victory speech in front of a cheering crowd. Well, Palaszczuk should have waited. But, I mean, they won, they don't care anymore. The move left political analysts gobsmacked, saying they'd never seen it before and her advisors had failed her. Ms. Palaszczuk has won a historic third term, with Labor recording a 5.2% swing across the state, while the LNP and One Nation vote tanked. But her former Deputy Premier, Jackie Trad, has been swept out of Parliament by a Green surge in South Brisbane, pushed on by LNP preference flowing to the minor party. Now, what do you think? I mean, there you go, guys. There's a silver lining. I know people in South Brisbane today. I'm going to ask them, did you preference the Greens second? Because he's a pretty conservative, right-leaning guy. And I think it'd be hard for him to do it, but that'll be interesting. I bet you he would, because he really didn't like Jackie. Although the Greens candidate in South Brisbane, we've now got two seats, two state seats in Brisbane that are Greens controlled. But what does that tell you, guys? You know, it's almost like, and we'll see this when I bring up the map, it's almost like the state really is cut in half, everyone, with regards to, we can have a look here. It's almost like it's cut in half. So you can see here in, oops, hang on. We'll zoom into Brisbane. You can see here. There you go. There's our two Green seats. There's the Labor everywhere. With just a few pockets of Liberal, LNP. You've got Qatar up the north, and One Nation here on the coast. Qatar's party here, and Cook at the far north. Qatar just needs to get control of Cook, and, make a push to separate the state, eh? Far north Queensland. It may not be such a bad idea, to be honest. Or at least force the Brisbane politicians to consider the value of the North. So Ms. Palaszczuk said Queensland was the best place on earth as she fronted her supporters. She said her team would roll up our sleeves and get back to work as quickly as possible to help the economy recover from the pandemic. Meanwhile, an upbeat Ms. Freklington was giving her concession speech at the same time as Ms. Palaszczuk's victory speech. She said Queenslanders had made the decision, and it was respected by the LNP, and she would continue as leader of the party. Okay, so she's going to stay on. She's going to go for another term. I guess that'll give her more time to have a chance. I mean, they've got no one else. I'm so proud of the campaign that we fought, she said. I'm so proud of the 93 candidates that ran the good race. She said that they had outlined a positive plan for the state to secure the next generation. It has not been an easy way for many, many Queenslanders, but we have stood together, stood strong and united, she said. If we work together, we will stay strong. Labor had the best of the early results, recording swings towards them in some of the key targets of Currumbin, Burleigh on the Gold Coast, and Harvey Bay, north of Brisbane, while gaining Caloundra and Sunshine Coast plus Palmerston. They've retained their valuable electorates of Barron River in Cairns, Mansfield and Astley in Brisbane, and is likely to retain Murrumba in Townsville. Two more marginal seats in Townsville, Thorangawa and Townsville, were still on a knife's edge. So it could be, if Labor wins all three of those seats up in Townsville, that's a big move. And the LNP recorded swings across the southeast corner that could end Deb Freklington's leadership of the Conservative Party. There you go. Is LNP even going to get back to where it was? Anastasia Palaszczuk has been returned to a third term with Labour recording a 5.2% swing. Controversial former Deputy Premier Jackie Trad lost her seat in South Brisbane to the Greens' Amy McMahon. The One Nation vote is collapsing, down 9.6% across the state with votes flowing to Labour. Clive and Anna Palmer skipped election day campaigning, spent it on a $8.3 million mega yacht. Well, good on them. I still like some of the Palmer United Party, or Clive Palmer's party, their policies. LNP clings on in Currumbin, but lost ground to the ALP. Up to 20 booths delayed counting due to storm delays. And, here we have the results, everyone. There you can see the Gold Coast. The state really is divided, isn't it? If you just look at this map. The state really is divided. You've got a conservative push, in the country, and you've got the inner city, southeast corner of Labour with a few places along the coast. And good up here, Cook. Wonder how many of the people in Cook were bussed in and encouraged to vote, but that's a whole other topic. I'm sure that never happens. Anyway, there you go, guys. So the people living here are going to control and have influence on everyone. Pretty much. This is why we need an upper house. That could have been the one good thing with the Greens minority, if they had pushed for an upper house in Queensland. What do you reckon? Would it be a price worth paying? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Are you at all surprised with the election results? And what do you expect to see from Queensland for the next 4 years? As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays or Teespring, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.